evening all. Well, I got back from my holiday last Friday. I had a terrific time down there. But one of the things, it's an extended family holiday, so there was lots of us there. And my in-laws still persist in buying the Times and watching the BBC for news because their ideas of both news agencies are at least 30 years out of date. They still think that there's some noble cachet to both organisations. But they increasingly hum and ha and get frustrated at what they see and read in the paper. They don't like the shoddy levels of journalism that you find there. But what is sometimes agony for them is rich pickings for me as I try and put together a compilation of the nutty, the bizarre, and the outright scary in the culture wars. Now, also what was happening this week was that I kind of had a run-in with some libertarians, including Michael Malice, who actually, when I tweeted to him, he tweeted back to me a couple of times. I sometimes struggle with libertarians and ANCAPs. Not as human beings, because I think as human beings, I find them to be often very thoughtful, good to talk to. You can have good, reasonable discussions. They're unlike people on the left. But sometimes I struggle to accept some of the premises there. And I think one of the things that I got a bit frustrated with this week, and it really didn't come across well on Twitter because of Twitter's format, but I wasn't trying to be deliberately hostile with people. I was just trying to put my point across. But one of the things I find sometimes with libertarians and ANCAPs is that I feel that they direct their anger or their skepticism or their disapproval towards the wrong target sometimes. And I say this because I am a bit of a veteran in the culture wars. I've been doing this long before it was fashionable online. I worked in the entertainment industry for over 20 years. I worked very closely with people with very left-wing opinions. I've heard some of the ideas that are mooted today. I originally heard back at university campus because I did a lot of student radio. I was involved in the student filmmaking society back then. So as part of student radio, I got to sit in on quite a few student union meetings, and I got to hear some of the horrific ideas, really controlling authoritarian ideas, even back in the age of 18, 19. So then going into the entertainment industry, I saw a lot more kind of horrific practices from people on the left. So I'm an old hand at this, and as you get older and you get to my age, middle age, you learn to pick your targets. You know, you can't just go scattergun, broad front strategy against everyone. You can't attack on all fronts at once. This is a military adage, which I'm also often fond of using, military terminology. But seriously, you can't attack on all fronts at once. And you learn over time which needs the priority and which you can just bypass. Because sometimes you have to bypass some online arguments or some tweets made by somebody. You've got to assess what is really damaging, what really needs challenging, and what you can just let slide. And this is where I had a bit of a clash with some of the libertarians, because they were going after Laura Bush Hagen for making what I thought was a milquetoast comment, and she had a kind of emotion interview on CNN. I didn't think that was worth really going after, making a big point about. I thought it was one of those cultural things you could just bypass. And she put in a tweet, a call for civility, and some people, Malice as well, felt that civility is dishonest. We don't do civility, which I think is too similar to the left's position on civility. They want to do away with it. I mean, I was thinking, if you had taken Michael Malice's name off the tweet and took his photo off, and you just presented me with the text and said, who do you think wrote that? I could have gone with Maxine Waters, because she called for something, an end to civility in politics. So I felt it was wasted, because when I looked at the week's events, I could see so many more worrying trends going on, which I feel deserves our attention rather than going after kind of milk toast, wet kind of conservatives or conservatives in name only. I learned to bypass these people. Sometimes media figures in the UK, Gary Lineker, Gabby Logan, Justin Webb, Nick Robinson, I just bypass them. They're not worth it because there's too wet and milk toast to really get wound up about. Now, what did concern me at the start of the week was Greta Thunberg's ongoing quest against the West. So she took high publicity yacht journey, so she wouldn't have to use a plane and put all that pollutant into the atmosphere. So she took a yacht, a high-tech millionaire's yacht, nonetheless, that relied on GPS navigation, no doubt, and had radios and all other bits of modern technology, which designed on a computer in a kind of industrialized boat yard, but nevertheless, he was making a virtue signaling attempt by sailing across the Atlantic, because after she had berated Western Europe for their part in causing global pollution, she then is sailing off to America to deliver the same message. Note she's not taking a slow boat to China. Okay, China and India still remain the largest polluters on the planet. She won't even go there. This is not about the environment. Nothing about the whole Greta Thunberg. Cats! Right, I'm in my flow. I'm not going to restart it. This is the publicity-seeking one that you've seen in previous videos. Anyway, so this thing with Greta is this cat was sent by Greta. The thing with Greta is that it's all stage managed, and it's nothing to do with the environment. It's about attacking the West. It's about attacking Western values. It's attacking the Age of Enlightenment values, classical liberal values. This is what it is. Just keep shoving the cat away. What are we going to do? It's just going to reposition the screen here. Very cunning. And adjust the lighting. Sorry. Yeah. 2 years in film school, eh? It taught me all about lighting. So, this is all shallow. This is something I consider more worrying than Laura Bush Hagen. How the media are going to use Greta Thunberg. I'm going to have to start this video again in a minute. So that's something to really worry about, is how she's being exploited. There's a lot of money behind her, and this is activism, not about the environment, but in dismantling the West. You see, the media have picked up on this story, and including the Times. And this is, they're running stories this week about what can you do to save the planet? Stop flying on planes. Just trying to keep the cat away. Stop flying on planes, stop eating meat, don't have children. Now that's that last one. We're already living in a Western Europe where the birth rate is going down throughout most of Europe. And yet we're told we take the pledge, don't have children. This is nothing to do, again, it's nothing to do with saving the environment. This is about trying to assuage white guilt. If there's no more white people, we can't cause any problems in the world. As if other ethnicities and races from around the world are entirely innocent and don't cause problems themselves. Nothing about depopulating Europe is going to save the planet. Okay, we've already got a falling birth rate as it is. We're in danger. A generation will grow old, and there's not enough people to pay the taxes, pensions, look after the old, fill the jobs, hold the culture together. So this is just absolute nonsense. The media's running with it. This is something you should be turning your attention on. I mean, when I say to people, you need to focus on here, I'm not doing it because I've got tunnel vision. I can see all these kind of warnings around the world. I just wish that the intelligence and the drive of ANCAPs and libertarians were directed at what I consider the biggest threats rather than the sideshows. That's what I mean. Okay, this is the point of my video this week. That's what I'm trying to explain. All these things are going on. He said, the cat's now ruining my lighting. 2-point lighting. I wish I had a fill light in the background as well. Anyway, moving on. Our old favourites, the millennials. I'm trying to teach millennials all about the greatness of the cultures and subgenres that went before. But now it turns out Millennials who join the police force don't like policing. They don't like the enforcement bit. Yeah, they get the uniform and they get to dance at pride parades, get to see lots of videos, and they like sitting in offices, looking at computer screens going, oh, there's a nasty tweet, let's go after them. But I don't like being on the streets and having to enforce and having to come up against violent and aggressive people in the street. Perhaps people have had a little bit too much to drink. Perhaps people who despise the authorities, despise the United Kingdom, the subcultures, the enclaves, who are not law-abiding. And the millennials can't handle it. They don't want to be in the police force. Nobody told them they were going to be in a police force, but they would actually have to be a force. And speaking of this neatly segues onto the new Home Secretary, Priti Patel. There's a lefty meltdown with her this week because she said in an interview she wanted criminals to fear the consequences, fear the police force, fear the consequences of committing crimes. She used the word terror. They should feel terror if they're going to commit a crime. Now, for me, criminals fearing the police is the default position. This is all throughout my life until the last few years. The idea that criminals would feel frightened and be frightened of the consequences of crossing the law was always there. This is how it began. I mean, the police force is not a military authoritarian body. Right? In this country, we have a police force that enforces the laws. You break the law, you can expect the police to turn up, and the police should be equipped with a variety of skills. One of them include being handy in a fight in order to protect society. Now, people, particularly LBC, were running, are we entering a police state? We're not entering a police state. We're actually, because that force, the people who shouldn't feel terror are just ordinary people. People who don't break the law. Don't feel terror from the police. The police, it's not a police state because the police will not be going after people who don't break the law. What Priti Patel is saying is that the criminal class should feel terror. So if the people on the left, the Femmies, the LBCs, the James O'Briens of this world, think that criminals should not fear the police, then what should they feel? Relaxed? Comforted? No. What do you think should happen if people break the law? Now, obviously, there is a warning sign that you could have a strong police force striking fear into criminals. But what we've seen in recent years is so much that was once just par for the course has become criminalised, like hate speech. So I hope people like yours truly don't have to fear the police. That's not what the Home Secretary was aiming at. But I just think, yeah, if you break the accepted law, the laws that we all know, particularly those involving theft and violence, then criminals should fear the police. No brainer. And while we're on the subject of hate speech, did anybody catch Saira Rao? I think Saira Rao? But anyway, she is the left-wing activist, interviewed by Sargon of Akkad a few months ago, where he said, please don't send hate messages to Ms. Rao. But I haven't. I've been sending some flippant messages. And I've just been calling her out for being a race bait because she is. Because she sent out a number of tweets this week saying, white people, white liberals, right? You know how you think you've got black friends? Well, behind your back, they say to each other that they actually hate you. And she said, what's worse than white liberal women? Asian liberal women. So she's turning on attention on the Asians now. Now, what's interesting about her Twitter feed is that she's setting groups up against each other. She's setting groups up to be at each other's throats. She is a race-baiting provocateur, and she should not be taken seriously. If you are on the moderate left, you don't need people like her. Okay, as some of us are trying to build bridges, some of us have rejected the idea that your value as a human being is based on your immutable characteristics like race. Here she is setting people up against each other, not just left versus right, not just white versus people of colour, but she is setting up white and people of colour within the left. She's having everybody at each other's throat. This is not the actions of a normal well-balanced, respectful person. Okay, the Saira Raos of this world are the people you should be focusing your attention in combating. Even though, and this is the thing I learned when I was debating conspiracy theories. You're not trying to convert her or people like her. You are converting the audience. That's what you're trying to do. It's like when you have a debate at a debating society, you're not trying to win your opponents over to your side. What you're trying to do is you're trying to win the jury over. Okay, that's what it's about. And so you got normies, and you got people on the moderate left who might be following her, or you got people maybe they're on social democrat left or firmly in the left, and they would feel normally they would feel uncomfortable by race-baiting language, but they feel, oh, I've got to fall in line. I've got to fall in step with everybody else. No, you need to challenge it. You need to challenge their thinking. You need to get them out of there, right? It's like it's all part of the walk away movement. We let that one drop. We should still press on that. You like Saira Rao? Right, walk away. Absolutely. So this is, as I said, you've got to choose your targets. I think she's a bigger target. I think a milquetoast MSNBC reporter is not, or BBC reporter, not really a valid target at this stage. Right, what else have we got? Speaking of online activism, the lefties went after the Babylon Bee. Now, once the Onion stopped being funny, you needed a kind of online satire form. Sorry, I can't produce the material quick enough. But the Babylon Bee was great for that. It was using the Onion's template, but coming at it from sent her to a glue factory or tennis racket factory at this rate. So the Babylon Bee was using the Onion's template, but coming at it from a conservative and pro-Christian angle, which was absolutely fine. But no, it's hate speech, hateful content. And then online activist called Josh Raby just did this huge Twitter thread about how the Babylon Bee wrecked his relationship with his father, because his father and his chums, and they're quite old people, were having a laugh at the Babylon Bee, and according to Josh Raby, they couldn't tell whether it was satirical or whether it was hate speech. Okay, and so in true leftist fashion, let's be on the safe side. Let's classify it as hate speech, even though everybody else in the world thought it was satire. And the Babylon Bee, it's been I'm not sure what its status is, but I think the big tech companies are trying to ban it from their platforms and yada yada yada, usual stuff. And quite rightly, a lot of people have been taking Josh Raby to task over this. I suggested that if Mr. Raby was having issues with his father, then the Babylon Bee didn't cause it. It was already there. It's his failure to communicate with his father. Perhaps it goes both ways. But this is what happens when you become so enmeshed in the culture war, and you stop seeing things from other people's point of view, even if you don't agree with them. You've got to understand. If anybody knows Josh Raby, please send him a copy of Jonathan Haidt's The Righteous Mind for Christmas. It looks like he could really do with it. But if you don't like something, have it banned. And now we go to a very bizarre thing that I caught on my Twitter feed today, which was from a Democrat Party conference where somebody was attempting to give us a talk from the podium, and then a member of the audience got up to say that the murmuring and chatting amongst the audience was triggering. He's hypersensitive to noise, and all the murmurings and the ripples of applause and the was putting him off. And so could they please stop during the duration while he is in the room? Could they please stop doing this because it's triggering me? And then the person at the podium attempted to continue giving a talk, but no, they only went and used the wrong gendered pronoun. And somebody got up and said, "You're using the wrong gendered pronoun. I feel triggered. I demand that you address me as they, them." And it's gone all around, and we're all having a big snigger, but this is from the Democrat Party. Okay, this isn't just some lunatic fringe meeting. Perhaps it is. Perhaps the lunatic fringe and the Democrat Party have just melded now. But they've got to realise that most of the world's laughing at them for this. But who isn't laughing at them? Well, academia and the media. And so how much we laugh at them, they're going to get a free pass. You see, this is the enemy. You need to be directed. Focus at this. This is what's happening down here. This is a Democrat Party. These are pretenders to government. And you've got to focus your attention on them. Okay? You've got to be aware of what's coming down the line. And not get distracted by who you perceive to be conservatives. That's why I say, you've got to have focus. You've got to have focus on this. Yeah. I think about it. If I'd gone to that Democrat Party conference, what I would have done is bust a load of old people in. And particularly my in-laws, because my father-in-law, at the moment, I've just spent a week sharing a holiday home with him, and he's a constant stream of noises. He's one of these people that reads the newspaper, watches the news, and tuts. Oh, that's shocking. He also walks around humming brass band music to himself as he's just doing the dishes or making a cup of tea. And, what else does he do? When he gets tired at night, he's doing the crossword, at about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. He starts going, and do really loud yawns. And my mother-in-law, what she does, she's the type of person who talks through TV programs. Wolf City. Oh, I like him. He was in that thing with that, that show where they had that country house and everything went wrong. Oh, I like him. But she's also, gets up in the middle of TV programs during really dramatic moments and takes food orders. I'm just making anybody for tea, cake. Anybody want a cake? Anybody want a snack? I'm making sandwiches, and I would just have them and a number of other old people just in the audience, triggering that guy, with their constant, oh yeah, I like him, and my mother-in-law going around taking food orders from everyone. I'm doing rolls. Does anyone want roll? I'm doing cheese and ham. I'm sorry, I'm a vegan. Okay, I'll just do your roll with some margarine on it. Would you like a glass of milk? And just absolutely, just do it. Just get these people into a Democrat Party conference. I'm so triggered. And another thing that caught my attention, it may have escaped yours. I think it escaped a lot of people's attention, but there was something called nicknamed Davos by the Sea, and it was a event hosted by Google. I think a tropical resort. And they invited everybody from big tech there, and they invited some Hollywood celebrities, and they invited people from the left-wing alt media. And they all got together to discuss culture, to discuss futures of entertainment on online platforms, and politics. Okay, nothing sinister, nothing there. All these people getting together in a big Davos, self-styled Davos by the Sea moment. And it was likened to the Bilderberg Group. And this scares me more than any other story that's happened this week. This scares me because they're all in a secluded place, coming up with the next strategy for the culture wars, and to see that anyone on the centre, mainstream right, libertarians, anarcho-capitalists, you name it, how they're going to remove us from the playing field altogether. And again, got to keep up to date with this one. And we need to open the eyes of some normies here. We've really got to push this out. It's no good sitting on the laurels. I say this a lot, and I really mean it. And when I'm a bit critical on Twitter about where the right is focusing its aim, I mean it. I don't mean it to be nasty. I don't mean it to put anybody down. I mean it as trying to encourage, trying to straighten the aim, because there's a lot of authoritarian things coming down the pipeline. Now, the environmentalists will absolutely take away our lifestyle, not to save the planet, but to control us. The big tech companies in Hollywood are all meeting, not to make things better, but figuring out ways of controlling us. And they're all meeting with mainstream left-wing parties, not to make things better, but to get the left-wing political parties in lockstep with this authoritarian social controlling agenda. That's where we are, people. If I'm cajoling you to refocus your aim, then it's because this is what I see as the huge problem. Okay, I see these things as the big problem, and not anyone who gets labelled the net negative of the right. And until next time, that really takes a... Okay, I'm going to get it right this time. Okay, please, the biscuit, yeah. And that really takes... Seriously, a tuck cheese wafer? That really takes the biscuit. Salty cheese.